And I'm fairly certain, oh, fingers crossed, nearly there. And I think we're live. Hello, everyone. And hello, Hannah. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me, Steph. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. Every time we talk, we have such amazing conversations, and you are truly, obviously, because your position as well, dynamic, exciting, and you always have the news. You always have your, finger on the pulse. So, I
Never a dull day. That's the
yeah, yeah,
beauty.
all day, every day. But we're here, obviously, guys, with Hannah Gay, and she is the editor of Professional Beauty magazine, who has been celebrating their birthday. How many years is it?
30.
30 years. Wow.
Almost as old as me.
Oh my goodness. Like, seriously, that's actually right.
Yeah, it's wild. It's amazing. It still feels like such a young industry though, but I suppose so much has happened in 30 years. It's wild looking back at it.
Oh, it's crazy. Like 30 years. I actually started my business 20, I started clinics
Yeah.
25 years ago almost.
Wow.
I
No, you
sold
don't
last year, but
gold enough,
it's a
Steph.
long time. So I'm
Yeah.
50. So, it was born when I was 20. So that's a long time ago. But yes, I am so happy to have you. Please, you are so exciting. Tell us about what you do, because I am always enthralled to know the journalistic life. You were editor 9 months ago. How did you become editor? What happened to get you there?
Yeah, so I've been super fortunate to be on the professional beauty team for, gosh, coming up 6 years now. So it's been a little while, but it's just totally flown. I started originally as the beauty editor for the publication. So I was predominantly working in print, doing all of the photo shoots, some of the features, and sort of got to know the industry that way. I then moved into the online editor role, and was doing that for a couple of years. And I was 100% focused in online and on building our social platforms then. So that was super fun, and obviously gave me a skill set that is very much needed in the publishing industry today. And then, yeah, 9 months ago, the position came up for editor, and it was an absolute no-brainer for me to go for it. And I honestly do feel very privileged to be in this role. As you say, the industry's been going for 30 years just in Australia, or certainly the magazine's been going for 30
Mm.
years. The industry probably not so much longer than that. It's still quite a young industry, but yeah, it's a really privileged position, I think, not only to be an editor of a publication, but also to be a representative of an industry. And I think you probably feel much the same way, Steph. You sort of feel like you can be a bit of a spokesperson for the thousands of people that occupy this very niche space. And, it's just the most fun job in the world. So I'm very lucky to be able to manage now our quarterly print publication. I manage all of our online content and all of our social content. So it's a busy job, but
Oh,
absolutely love every minute of it.
that's huge. And do you actually have people on your team helping you?
Oh,
How
look,
many?
not permanent people, but I do have a good little collection of brilliant writers who I turn to help me. I'm very lucky, and that's something that really helped me establish myself as editor very early on. I knew a few girls in the industry. That's the beauty, I suppose, of working in magazines for a long time, and knowing the industry well, that I was able to call on a few people to help write for me. So we do have sort of a rotating black book of about five of us that write all of the content.
Oh, brilliant. And then graphics wise and things, who does that?
Yeah, we have a designer, we have an in-house
Oh, yeah.
designer, we have an in-house advertising manager, but really that's it. That's our core team. And we just kind of bounce emails back and forth. Thankfully we do work for, we're one B2B publication under an umbrella of
Yes.
B2B magazines, as you know, Steph. And so we're very fortunate to work for a company that has a team on hand to help us. But yeah, really on the day-to-day operations of PB, there's probably, yeah, two or three of us that are kind of looking at it every day.
And looking at like what you actually put out and produce, and the amount of content and how quick you are to respond to everything that's going on in the industry, that's actually, I know, because I try to keep up and I cannot do it.
Imagine.
It's insane. Like, congratulations to you.
Thank
And
you.
like looking at this issue of 30 years, I was reading it, and I especially, there's a section there that looks back over
Yes.
years, and that's it would just filled my heart. I was looking at it thinking, gosh, we've come such a long way, and we've had this beautiful voice telling us these stories, the whole way through. And we're so lucky because not every industry have this, right?
Yeah, yes, it's been a big mission of mine this year to produce, in celebration of our 30th anniversary, produce the what I call the PB archives. And so every quarterly issue that we produce now features a sector of history of the professional beauty industry. And it's a reflection not only of our publications history, but also of the industry in general. And it's been super, super fun, just kind of going back and spending hours and hours researching what was happening at certain times, and when certain devices and brands came out. And again, it all just feels like yesterday. There's so much that you kind of go, gosh, you would think that certain injectables have been around for decades, or certain skincare lines that are just massive here have been around forever, and they just simply haven't been. And so it's been really, really interesting to watch that, and it's yeah, been lots of fun to produce each issue.
I get mind boggled every time I see some of the behemoth skincare brands that have launched in Australia, and they're only like 15 years old. And you think,
Yeah.
you feel like you've been around for 30 years and you're so big, it feels like a legacy brand, right?
Yeah,
But
100%. And I think, what this experience really has taught me is how absolutely incredible the Australian businesses are. I think any Australian distributor or beauty brand that has continue to survive the test of time is, I think that's just such a massive achievement. It's one thing for an international brand to do it, but to be able to do it and sort of, maintain their footing in the professional space in Australia. There aren't many of them still around that we look back on 30 years ago that were really big at the time, and first came to Australia as the industry was launching. So any of those that sort of have over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years kind of continued to stay in the industry, yeah, I bow down to them. It's amazing.
yeah, full on. And you are also an incredible supporter of the industry, not just through what you're doing, you're the work that you do, but you're also a foundation member of ABIC.
Yes, of
That's
course.
massive. That's huge. I mean, from the very beginning, I think you were literally one of the first ones that joined as a foundation member. And I mean, and that's a big membership, right? It's a top tier
100%.
membership. It is one of the supportive memberships and foundational memberships of the industry. This particular membership subsidizes a lot of the HR support that we're able to give the clinics at a very low price. We're able to
Mm.
deliver full-time HR support for $99 a month because of people such as yourself or companies such as yourself that subsidize that. So thank you so much for what you do for the industry. And obviously all those funds go to the advocacy work that we desperately need so much of right now. What is
Totally.
going on?
Totally, I know. Well, it's an absolute no-brainer. I think for a company like Professional Beauty to partner with ABIC, I mean, any kind of regulation and any kind of support the industry needs, we want to be on the front foot of that as well, and making sure that we're advocating for that. So yeah, we're always very interested in everything you guys do at ABIC.
Thank you. And what a hotbed we're in at the moment. I mean, the
Mhm.
issues that are going, in every sector, and it's not just one
Yes.
sector, it's beauty, dermal, medical aesthetic, the whole thing. We're under a lot of scrutiny right now. What's your opinion on what's happening and why it's happening now?
Yeah, look, I mean, there are two sides to it. There are pros and cons. I think, there are always going to be members of the industry that have concerns around, things they're able to do in clinic and things that are, able to be publicized. And I totally appreciate that. And then, at the same token, we obviously really need this kind of regulation, and we need this kind of look into the industry. And my hope, and I'm sure yours is the same, Steph, is that, out of any kind of media attention that the industry is getting, whether it's good or bad, hopefully it just means progress. And hopefully that means that if there is any kind of attention placed on the industry, whether it's for consumers or just for the industry itself, that it just means that we are paying more attention to the importance of keeping a professional position and the importance of elevating our industry. And I think that's the most important thing to us, is that we see that the industry is held in high esteem, and that people who work in this industry are recognised for the amazing work that they do, not so much all of the negative
Mm.
hearsay that can come out in the media. And Obviously we can't control that. PB, aren't affiliated with that sort of stuff. We just sort of report simply on the facts that come out. But yeah, it's an interesting time. And I think, there's always going to be something to say. It just seems to be a very hot topic at the moment.
Sure is. And now more than ever, as you said, I feel like we need a sense of, for starters, we need information. And that's where you
Yes.
come in, and that's where publications come in, especially industry specific ones. And we need information. We need to stay in touch because we don't know if without a lot of times we get alerted from these things, regulation changes, or what's happening even in the New South Wales laser and IPL regulation space, or what's happening in the beauty sector for changes in education reform. The way we find out about this is publications. The way we
Yes.
find out about this is media, because we're not sitting there on government websites all the time waiting for this
Yes.
information. So,
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the relevance of magazines or industry specific publications now, I mean, how does it compare to even 10 years ago? Do you think they're more relevant now? Do you think it's more essential?
Mhm.
How's
Yeah,
your
look,
take on that one?
I'm a bit biased, obviously, because I work in this space, but I personally believe that our industry publications are more important than ever. And I think that really is just a reflection of the sheer noise that exists. I mean, the amount of content that we have access to, opinions, and, just information that's going around, whether it's online or on social media or through publications, consumer publications, it's hard to keep up with even as a journalist. And so I think the very unique and special position that we have on a publication like Professional Beauty is that we're very, very niche in the content that we create. And so for me as a journalist, I have a very specific role of filtering out probably 95% of the information I'm given from brands and from PR and from other media sources, and kind of going, okay, this is great, but what's actually relevant to the beauty therapist, to the person working in this industry on a day-to-day basis? And a lot of it isn't relevant, and a lot of it is relevant but isn't publicized in the same way that consumer beauty news is. So from where I'm standing, publications like PB are super important because, we dedicate time to conducting thorough and broad research with every piece of content that we put out. We don't just write fluff just for the sake of it. We don't need to do that. Our content is very tailored and always has been very tailored. And yeah, I think it's just nice for the industry to feel like they have something like Professional Beauty that belongs to them and
Yes.
isn't just, like I say, some sort of publication or website that is, beauty news available to anyone and everyone, because that isn't always relevant and that's not always answering the questions that beauty therapists truly have.
I love that. And as the conversation evolves, you're saying now it's probably more important than ever to be in touch because of the changes. But how has the conversation in our industry changed? Like when we're looking back at previous issues, what were we talking about before and what are we talking about now?
I know. It really does feel like a wild time. And I don't know whether it's just me because I came on board with PB just before COVID. So I feel like I've seen it all. I mean, it's really kind of like it hit the fan pretty early on. And so we're still trickling down from that filter effect of COVID. But I think this year the big focus for me as a publisher now, through talking to the industry on a day-to-day basis, is that I get the impression that there's almost this cyclical effect where we started off with the industry 30 years ago, where it was really in its development stage. We were looking at beauty therapy much through the lens of like spa and wellness, simply because that was what was happening in America. That was what was happening in Europe. And all of these services were really only just then building to now. And when I say circular, I feel like we've seen this boom in things like, invasive aesthetic treatments or even non-invasive aesthetic treatments, the boom in amazing technological devices and injectables and surgeries and all of those sorts of, hard-hitting treatments that people have been leaning toward in the last 10 or 15 years. there's almost like this pullback. And I think that is because of the fact that people are looking for wellness services and they are looking for things that help them feel good. And that at the core of what our industry does is that's what beauty therapy is. That's the whole journey of the beauty therapist from, the time that they commence their studies is wanting to make a person feel good in the treatments that they're providing. And, I think that's a reflection of, what's going on with the economy. It's a reflection of post-COVID. It's a reflection of, I don't have enough money. How am I going to utilize my money to help me look good, but also feel good? And so from an industry standpoint, very much the attention for certainly the last 12 or 18 months has been around how can people improve their services to implement that wellness factor, that more holistic offering, that perhaps there is a referral then to a registered nurse or to a doctor as well. But it is that cross referral and knowing that the beauty therapist's role is just as important today as it was 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. I love how you've just put that so beautifully and eloquently. And of course, you've touched on the wellness. I want to feel good. We shifted focus very much so on the I want to look good.
Yeah.
We misunderstood what beauty actually is, because beauty, I mean, you can have technically good skin, but you might not have technically beautiful skin. You might technically not have any wrinkles, but you might not actually look beautiful or healthy, because what's happening underlying is that you've got high cortisol levels, you've got, high stress, you're treating the external, but you're not treating the internal, so that glow and beauty and that translucency and that youthfulness isn't shining through. And we're understanding now that we've stripped out this thinking it's fluffy. I've taken out all the wellness, all the, relaxation, all the therapeutic beauty, but we're not looking beautiful anymore. What's happened? Why? And we're not feeling good either. We're going into the treatments and we're getting poked and prodded and hurt, and we're walking out stressed. Should we not have a more holistic kind of approach where you're walking out looking beautiful, feeling beautiful, and then also having that aesthetic result as well? And I love how you've succinctly put it, coming full circle. It is cyclical, and I'm very inspired about what's next for our industry, because I do think wellness is going to boom.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Absolutely. And it has been booming overseas for years. And Australia being Australia, we're often the last to kind of see the trends come through. But it's certainly here and now. And I think a lot of businesses are savvy in that they are adjusting their treatment menus and their offerings, and even just in their communication styles with clients to reflect that wellness space.
Yeah, beautiful. And your issue, this one here, is jam-packed with all of that and more. I mean, we're talking about bathing rituals and business of wellness. You talk to Mel Gleason, who is just, wow, I met her a little
She's
while
the
ago.
coolest. Yes.
She's wow, isn't she?
Yes, I love her. And I know she's just or the Endota brand has just come on as an ABIC partner, which is super exciting. So I wanted to make a point of asking her about that as well. And yeah, she was really, really looking forward to everything that was to come with you guys.
Yeah, oh, and that's so beautiful. Yes, they came on not only as education members through Endota Wellness College, but they came in as also spa members through Safe Skin certification as well. So they're going to go through that process as they're the very first, sort of 110 salon multi-site business actually going to go through the Safe Skin process as well, which is incredible. And it just shows that leaders and visionaries such as Mel, they're the ones that first jump on board. I mean, we've only been around for what, 3.5 years or so. So ABIC is just new. It's very babyish. Close to 4 years, I think we'll be coming to the end of the year. And so it's still new. You still, you're still not many people actually even know what we do still. Like I talk to people in the industry and I'm like, oh, the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council. Oh, right. What do you guys do? So, we're getting these visionaries come on board that are actually going, no, we need to unite and stand up for ourselves and advocate. And that's such a wonderful thing to see. And I loved reading that whole piece. I think that was just extraordinary. So if you haven't read it yet, you please jump onto this. It's such an incredible issue. Another thing that stood out to me was managing menopause and the menopause conversation. That is a huge conversation. Tell me about why you think that's emerging, why now,
Yes.
what are they talking about? What are the things that are out there about it?
Yeah. Well, look, I think therapists know that menopausal clients, for lack of a better word, that's a huge portion of their demographic, regardless of a person's age, specifically speaking about women here, they always want those beauty and wellness services. And there are certain things that women are looking for that aren't necessarily, like we say, Steph, those injectables or sort of more invasive treatments. They are looking just to simply feel good and look good. And menopause is a really interesting time. It's sort of like, you look at teenage skin, for example, and teenagehood is a very testing time when it comes to our skin. We've all been there. Other times of your life, like pregnancy and breastfeeding, hormonal changes happen. Through other sickness, hormonal changes happen. But menopause is something that does happen to every woman. And so there's a whole um, you know, sector of society there in Australia and overseas that are going through this. And I think it's interesting to recognize it not only from a scientific point of view and go, okay, well, what's actually happening in the body, but what is it that beauty brands and beauty salons could be doing to support clients who are going through that? And I think now that we know so much about menopause and the stages of menopause and how it actually happens, brands have been really savvy in jumping on board and going, well, we actually have solutions, or we are creating solutions to help clients through that period, particularly around skin. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating, and ingestibles. There are some really fantastic formulations that are coming out at the moment, and solutions that are very, very targeted to menopausal clients. And it's just an exciting space to witness, really. I think, much like all of the trends that have come and gone over the years, this is just the beginning of a recognition of something that simply does happen in our lives and will become pretty commonplace. I think, that menopausal treatments or tailoring treatments to women going through that time in their life, there will always be an offering for them, hopefully.
Yeah, I love that. Why do you think now the conversation? Because I've been in business, as I said, for many, many years, and the word menopause, we never talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw so many women, and many thousands a week. I have 14 clinics. Can you imagine how many, fully
Insane.
booked clinics? Some of them had 8 rooms. So, we were seeing thousands of clients a week, and
Yes.
we knew, but we never talked about it. We talked about
Yes.
it in training. We talked about aging skin. We talked about what happens in, aging, but we didn't really say the word. What do you think's changed?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I mean, look, there are so many things that can contribute to this. I mean, we live in a world now where we are so much more open, thankfully, about talking about women's health and women's health issues. And, there's obviously, things like that are reflected in government changes and the way just in which, future generations are talking about these sorts of things. So, I mean, there's certainly a shift there. And I mean, look, purely thinking from a business point of view, I mean, the generation that are going through menopause now have money. So it's something, as a business owner, people should be really considerate of. We're obviously all going through a difficult time economically, but there are people who, are in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are coming out of the back of their working life and do have that disposable income to spend on beauty products and treatments that younger generations do not. And so when they are the people that are also going through menopause in their life, there are some really good connections there that you can make around, oh, let's look at offering a treatment that's specific to them. And,
Mm.
that hasn't been the case when it comes to, the financial climate of particularly of Australians for several decades. So we really are in a unique position now where
Mm.
it's something that businesses really can and should capitalise on.
Mm. The you said the word capitalize. What we're actually finding is that a lot of people right now are calling themselves menopause expert, or
Yes.
it's a tricky area, because I'm here to tell you, there's only so long we can get away with sort of using medical conditions to highlight beauty. And actually, you heard it here first. ABIC is launching a menopause aesthetics division within ABIC to
Very cool.
to put out best practice guidelines, because a lot of people are asking, what am I allowed to say? Am I
Mhm.
allowed to, is there a control on this? Should we be ethically talking about this? Am I allowed to call myself a menopause expert after I've done a course on menopause and because I treat a lot of menopause skin? There's a lot of menopause coaches coming out, and I'm an expert in this. And come and see us in our clinic. We deal with and we're menopause specialists. They're using that word, and so there's a lot of controversy happening, and I'm getting a lot of phone calls about, oh, who's regulating this space? What's happening with this? So
Mhm.
we actually are forming, we're probably announcing it on Monday, a menopause division. We've put together some experts in the industry, and we're going to be inviting everyone to join and participate who's got experience in this committee as well, to help put out best practice guidelines so that we don't have the situation that happened with aesthetics where we just wild wested it and then we got everything taken away. And now you can't say the word filler or Botox. We don't want to ever get to the stage where we can't use the
Yes.
word menopause, right?
Yes,
Because
yes, absolutely.
it's been used and abused and marketed to the nth degree without any basis. So I think we need to, as a industry, really look at the way we're ethically talking about medical conditions and about, health states and health conditions so that we stay on the right side of it, without garnering more attention. So that's what's happening in the ABIC world. So you actually heard it first here.
There we go. I love that, Steph. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
very cool. And then the other thing that I'm really looking at is like natural looking beauty. People don't want to
Mm,
look like they've had work done. And we're going into this undetectable era where,
mm.
less is more, or if it's a lot, I want to look like I've had nothing. Tell me a little bit about what that trend is. I mean, we're seeing cool stuff like, I mean, you've seen Lindsay Lohan's beautiful work that she said
Insane.
she hasn't had.
Insane. I know. It's unbelievable.
Or
Celebrities
Chris
always
Jenner. Oh
get
my
the
God.
gosh.
Like, please
Oh,
tell me
I
what you've
know.
had.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we did publish a story this issue.
Yeah.
We had a contributor write in about this undetectable era that we're experiencing, and it's just funny. Again, it's just a reflection of how the trends come and go. And I think when I talk to my girlfriends even about getting certain treatments done, I always say start at the beginning and work your way up. Start with a brilliant skincare routine. Go
Yes.
and see a therapist and get some personalized recommendations done. From there, look at devices. There are so many incredible devices, skin rejuvenation devices out there, things that can tackle very specific skin conditions now, that are proving to provide almost as good results as you would get from, perhaps something that you can receive from a nurse. So I think it's just all about recognizing that there isn't just a one size fits all solution for everybody out there. And people have different skins and different faces, and things are going to work really well and look more natural on someone versus somebody else. So I think it's just, as an industry, keeping that in mind and making sure that we're offering services that are reflective of that.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing that stood out is tech. Everyone, like, AI is exploding and will keep exploding. But there's in our industry is pulling in a lot of tech. And I mean, what are we looking at now in terms of tech? What's the standout? What's, especially end of financial year, what are we looking into the future as well in terms of
Yeah, yeah, this is that really pointy time where a lot of businesses look at investing in technology. So I wanted to make sure in this issue of PB we had quite a broad offering of recommendations around technology that people should be investing in. And there's always something new out, but as a journalist, I see a lot of releases by the same companies, and you start to get a really strong idea of who those companies are that can be relied on, and who therapists turn to a lot. And even just as a participant, when I go and get treatments done, and I get a lot of treatments done, and I visit a lot of salons, I'm very privileged. But I make a point of looking at what devices people have, and I think it's something it's tricky, because particularly for salon owners, investing in technology is not easy. And so it just comes down to conducting that research and taking as much time, doing as much market research as you possibly can before going and looking at investing in a device, and just knowing your demographic. because again, one suburb versus another suburb, one state versus another state, the requirements of those clients and the demand from those clients are going to be very different. So I suppose that's where research really comes in. And while there are a lot of incredible devices out there, not all of them are going to be suitable for your business. And it's much the same way that we think about our retail products and our back bar products. You've got to be very specific and strategic around what it is that you're investing in for your clientele.
I love that. Another thing that we are very aligned on is electrolysis. You've did
Yes.
a really cool article about, the comeback of electrolysis. Coincidentally, where ABIC has launched the electrolysis division because
Yes, I
we're seeing
saw.
so many people just, it's a resurgence almost of this incredible technology that, just removes hairs that you literally can't do with any other type of device. And we're looking at, so many other different nuances, how it's tied to menopause and menopausal hair and hormonal hair,
Mm.
paradoxical hypertrichosis and how it treats that as well. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to do an issue, like a feature on that one.
Yeah, it was a bit it was a bit random, but I met the lovely Marissa who owns a salon here in
Yeah.
Sydney, and she yeah, we just got talking at an event last year, and she said, "Oh yeah, I actually, am a very big supporter of electrolysis, and it's something that is, one of my key offerings in my salon." And I just thought, gosh, that feels so old school. Like I can't believe people are still doing it, but there's obviously a demand for it. And we got chatting, and she was really fantastic at listing out all of the benefits to the device itself. And I think once again, it's just a reflection of how many different types of people are out there. And laser and IPL have been the be all and end all for the last couple of decades. But just because those particular treatment offerings have been popularized and are so readily available doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best solution for the client walking through your door. So electrolysis is just one of those areas that has managed to stand the test of time. I mean, that was the big thing 30 years ago. Clearly,
Yeah.
it hasn't gone away. So there's obviously a demand for it. So I think it's just being able to publicize that offering and sort of say to the industry, look, if you're wanting to upskill, if you're wanting to do something new, if you want to offer something new that, perhaps you're surrounded by 10 laser clinics, maybe this is something that you could offer that's a little bit different. And it's just kind of keeping people's minds open to the possibility of looking at electrolysis.
Yeah. Oh, and electrologists are booked out months in advance, and they are so expensive. It's not a cheap treatment to have. It is very lucrative. It's very profitable, and if you're thinking about adding something to your clinic, that is a little bit different and a little bit niche, it is something to definitely consider. Looking back, so many trends have happened I suppose, in our industry over the last 30 years. When you went through the archives, what's one trend that you're like, I wish I could just bring this one back because it's so cool?
Oh, bring back. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I wouldn't bring back.
Oh, tell us that. Go.
Tanning beds, absolutely not.
Oh,
It's so funny looking back at old issues of
right.
PB. I should have brought some down with me, but there'll be more to come in our future issues. But there are so many advertisements for tanning beds. It was just
Really?
unbelievable, and probably up until God the early to mid 2000s there were advertisements for tanning beds. So it's I mean it's still only recently that we basically outlawed them. So that's been really, really funny to see. But yeah, look, I think looking back, there's so much even from 3 decades ago that are still relevant today. I mean, 2 decades ago, we were talking about AHAs being the big thing. And
Oh,
um,
that never went away.
that obviously never went away. And I mean, gosh, I'm not even up to the part where the injectables come in. That's God, like the 2010. So we haven't even gotten up to that part of the
Really?
archives
Oh,
yet.
wow.
So it's, that's still so recent, so fresh. But yeah, I think just the fact that there was so much talk around the spa industry booming at that time. And, I've spoken to a few industry leaders on that recently, and they sort of said, oh, look, the spa market hit the Australians, but we weren't as invested as the Americans and the Europeans were because we simply didn't have the capacity to invest in these, large, amazing baths and large, infrared saunas and things like that. But like I say before, there's this cyclical effect where these days a lot of salons are investing in those kinds of pieces of equipment. And even if it's just the one or two, it just is something different to add to
Mm.
their offering that their neighbor doesn't have. So that's been something that's been really exciting to kind of see. Not that it necessarily ever went away, but there's this merging now of the traditional beauty salon with the wellness space or with the clinic. And, there's that crossover that I think the average client is really looking for now.
That's gorgeous. It's been an insightful chat with you. And if anybody really wants to find out more information, you just honestly subscribe to the magazine because it is the best investment I've made. I get my issues, I get them a whole, and also online, like you're online. Like I go for my updates very, very often. I go online to find out what's happening in our industry now. I need to be in touch. So please subscribe. If you're an ABIC member, you're already subscribed, and you get that so generously for free as well. So thank you so much for coming in and talking to us, Hannah. It's always a real pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Deb. I feel like we could talk for hours. There's so
I
much
know.
to touch on. So, yeah, we'll talk really soon. And yeah, please continue to keep
Amazing.
everybody up to date.
Absolutely. Have a good weekend, everyone. And thanks, Hannah. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.